Well, we're going to talk today about self-censorship. Hey, do you feel censored lately? Do you feel like you have to censor? Well, that's a question that's out there. This article is from Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. And the survey says we are censoring ourselves because of the political climate of the day, between BLM, Antifa, between the globalist and the radical left that say pretty much if you speak anything of truth, of God, or of anything else, you're going to be persecuted, if not sometimes even killed. That's the society we live in now, which is really sad. Well, here the article says a recent survey of 2,000 Americans by Cato Institute found that 62% of Americans say the political climate these days prevents them from saying things they believe because others might find them offensive. Now, this is up from years past, of course, because look around us. Now, here it is. Listen to the number here. Majorities of Democrats, 52%, independents, 59%, but Republicans, 77% of all Republicans agree that they have political opinions they're afraid to share. So the number of the people on the right, the conservatives, the Republicans, are the ones whose voices are most censored, honestly, by themselves and honestly by others too, which is pretty telling, isn't it? Now, you can really see it because those that feel they have to censor the least are those that are globalists, that are on the far radical left. They don't believe they really have to censor themselves at all. Why? Because their speech is acceptable to the political climate. Well, I'm going to go on with the article now. That's personal opinion. People who define themselves as staunch liberals censor themselves less. Strong liberals stand out, however, as the only political group who can feel and express themselves. Nearly 6 in 10, 58% of staunch liberals feel they can say whatever they want. Now, in the truly representative numbers, that's chilling because U.S. normally enshrines the most far-reaching freedom of speech because of our First Amendment. But the average number of Americans who self-censor is slowly beginning to, listen to this, approximate that of Germany, where a survey on self-censorship was conducted a year ago concluded that this is in Germany now, 2/3 of citizens are convinced today one has to be very careful of what topics one expresses oneself because they are many unwritten laws about opinions which are acceptable and unacceptable. The difference is that Germany is one of the most draconian hate speech laws in Europe. But yet we are succumbing to that very same thing. Hate speech laws, ridiculous, guys. We should celebrate our amendment, our right to free speech. Now, here it goes. The article goes on to say nearly a third, 32% of employed Americans say they're worried about missing out on career opportunities or even losing their job if they express a political opinion. Now, Americans across the political spectrum share the concerns, but again, those who are most affected are those who are conservative, who may call themselves Republicans or who are conservatives. The numbers of liberals at the most are 31%, but you have those that are more on the right, especially postgraduates. Now, it says that those with the higher education feel the most censored, but that's where the 31% of the liberals comes in. 31% of liberals who have a higher education, meaning postgraduate, they think they have to be quiet, but that compares to 44% of postgraduates that are conservative. So there's just a difference in the political spectrum of education as well as political party or political leaning. All I know is, hello, is that telling or have we already felt it? I can tell you I've felt that pressure. I still pretty much say what I want, but there have been times where I've held my tongue because you say a buzzword even, and all of a sudden, well, you're racist or a whole bunch of other things. And we've got to understand that racism is in all directions. People focus on those with lighter skin that are racist, but guys, I see great racism from other communities. I'll just leave it at that. Again, here I'm watching the words I'm saying because of the political climate. Anyway, This article goes on to say the tilt has had familiar consequences. The proliferation on campuses of safe places, safe spaces, trigger warnings, deplatforming of conservative voices, and a cancel culture aimed at professors and students who do not conform to an on-campus political orthodoxy that has become increasingly totalitarian. An example being in Massachusetts, the University of Massachusetts, Lowell School of Nursing, Leslie Neal Boylan was fired by the school after writing Black Lives Matter, but also everyone's life matters. Well, that's true, but she was fired for saying something true, simple, and good. Yeah, she was fired. That's the climate we live in, folks. Cancel culture has moved from the campus into our society. Some of the topics that aren't acceptable anymore: don't talk about race, don't talk about gender, don't talk about Western civilization, don't talk about true history, don't talk about war heroes, don't talk about climate change, don't talk about, well, you name it. You can't talk about it anymore, according to political society. But when citizens stop voicing their concerns in public places about current events and policies and ideas out of fear that they will lose their livelihoods and social standings, it's a big problem in our society, because that means the bullies are the only platform that's ever heard. So here for me, don't silence your voice. Pray that God fills your mouth with your words and puts his protection around you, and be discerning, but we need to use our voices. We don't need to be part of the culture that's been silenced, because when a good man does nothing, then evil prevails. I need to remember that. Hey, Mark, what do you have to say about this?
Bitterness. There's just so much bitterness out there on the side of people that have. It's almost switched. How about, let's put it that way? It's switched from when I was growing up. You could talk about any of those things you want and not be fearful of any of it, because we just had freedom. It was our freedom. And now it seems that those that are bitter towards anything that has happened in their life, or things that are small. I don't know how to explain that in my head, but it's switched over now to they have it. I see what I get what you're saying, and I'm trying to put into words what I'm thinking on, for instance, the bully issue. A bully, of course, doesn't have the right to say things, but it's almost like when you do say something or have an opinion about something, you're being the bully. And those that are on the other side of that have not stood up for themselves. Let's put it that way. They've not stood up for themselves many, many times. And in a way, I can almost defend some of their feelings, the way that they feel about it, because I've been on that side. I've been on the other side of somebody, when I've been bullied, and I've been on the side of being accused of something and not stood up for myself, and now it almost seems as though when you stand up for yourself, it has gotten so far on to the other side. And it's a lot of it, I think, is bitterness. It's bitterness towards that. The balance, it keeps shifting from one side to the other. And I can only account for my life as 66 years old, and the way I grew up, and what I remember seeing and feeling and understanding when I was growing up towards a lot of different people. And I mean, you can go for anywhere from the whole range of black people to gay people. I don't know what that was. I said black people, and an alarm went off. So I don't know what happened there, but anyway, you have such a huge range of people that feel as though they have lesser value, and they have been quiet for so long that now they've shifted the ranks to people that have in the past been on top, now have to feel as though they're on the bottom because somebody else wants to be on top and is bitter and mad because of things that have happened in the past. And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you can just go to the LGBT, you could go to black people, you go to Asians, you could go to, any of the categories. And I would almost say, it's so funny, it's either white people or everybody else. And I've thought about this, and it's, you want to talk about liberals and what liberals think that they should say or be about certain different things and standing up. It's liberals have always been they've always voiced themselves more than anybody, especially conservatives. I mean, it's even the words say it, liberal and conservative. The two words will even tell you. Whereas it seems now there's been another shifting. It's rough to put it in words without, Sandy, without feeling as though I'm being politically incorrect.
Exactly.
I'm stumbling all over my words here.
But see, that's what we're talking about.
What?
We can't talk freely anymore. Okay, I'll tell you something else. You say homosexuality in a pulpit is a sin, but so is every other outside sex outside of marriage is wrong. Period. All of it, but that includes homosexuality. You're going to be censored. You're going to be politically demonized. You say when, okay, here it is. This is the day when evil's called good and good is called evil. Of
course, yeah.
And these are the days we're living in. And so if you stand up for righteousness, you are being censored. We are being censored. And you have to, I get a fire under my belly when, and sometimes I get to my own, I get this fire and I'm like, it's truth. And I choose to go forward despite the consequences. And, and
sure,
saying the truth, even in your own congregation, sometimes you feel like you are standing on slippery slope. I'll tell you another topic. This is a topic where you can be censored very easily and feel like you're on the same ground. And it's not political and it's not in these areas, but just amongst our own groups, because people want to hear what they want to hear and they don't want to hear anything else. And usually you don't want to hear because you want to continue to live your life the way you want to, and you don't want to be confronted with the truth of scriptures. Here's another topic that is censored, but this is in our own community, and that's on tithes and offerings. Let me tell you, I've been doing a series on that. First time. We've had our congregation since 2005, September of 2005. It's the first time I've ever done a series on it. And when I was starting it, I was like, okay, guys, you want to know why? Because people literally walk out when you touch. It's the same sort of concept, but that's in a minuscule level. And now the political things and the truth things, abortion and choice and race and all of it, it's so politically hot that you do. Anytime you even just say the word amongst even your own group of people, you're like, where have we fallen? Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be that way.
Well, yeah, that's so funny. I'm stumbling all over my words again here. On my show, Compass of Cram, I pick topics that bring this stuff out.
I
And
know.
that's the reason, because nobody else will talk about it. The very first show I did on when we switched over to evenings or mornings, very first topic was all men are created equal. Okay. Is that true? All men are all men created equal? And and last week we did well, I mean, I should bring this up because once again, these topics are topics that nobody will talk about. Profiling people, that was a huge topic that I did. Last week we did plausible deniability. And it's incredible because I think about, that's one of the things that I think about quite often. But ever since, even right after I did the show last week on Monday, I went in and I mean, I'd been on the computer a lot that day, so I went in to sit down and watch an old cop show. And this chief of police is talking to one of his head police sergeants or whatever, and the sergeant tried to tell him what was going on, and he said, "Stop, I don't want to know." Plausible deniability. It's the same thing. These are topics that people don't want to talk about because it's switched. It's now people are scared to death to do anything. I mean, with COVID, it just sent another layer on top of being scared to death to even live your stinking life. It's everything, and it's coming up. Remember what we did 2 years ago on the HR5. That HR5 bill is still sitting there, but just mark my words. I said this when we did that HR5 conference, is that they will not pass the bill, but they'll start picking little bits out of because it had several topics, and now they have literally passed several little laws that will take different things out of there, that you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't do this in this instance, and workforce can't do this and stuff. It was all in that HR5. The HR5 is still just sitting dormant, but all these little things, and it's just scare tactics. And what is the number one thing? Hitler did it. It's one of those things so that they can be in control. Whoever is causing this to happen they want to, this is the number one thing, to put a person into control. And that's what bullies do, is They start little and they actually start really nice. Well, hey, how you doing? And it's, they manipulate. They're very good at manipulating, and that's what's is happening to us, and it won't stop. It'll just do nothing but layer upon layer.
But it's like you said, that's what this COVID thing is about, is how much control can they place over our lives.
100%.
And again, here we go, the censorship. I know that people do suffer from this just like they do the flu and everything, but it has a 99.9999 whatever survival rate. It's not, it's a thing, guys. It's don't fear. But even believers are walking around in fear, and the other ones are scared to do what they believe. There's a lot of people that believe masks shouldn't even be worn, and you see them, they say, well, I just don't want the hassle. Well, of course, John and I, we will not wear a mask anywhere we go, period. If we get called on it, we just leave. We will not do it. And but other people we talk to, well, I believe the same thing, but I'm worried, the political hassle, the whatever, so they comply. And but it's because I did not think it would be this much. Literally, the political atmosphere is controlling almost every area of our lives right now. And most, at least in the United States, most of the United States, believers and unbelievers alike, are saying, yes, master, what else do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's sad.
Very true. Very, very, very true. Very true.
Very true. And it's very, very sad.
And this is a subject that you can go 1,000 different ways on and still cover, everything that you can't cover in 15 minutes or whatever. But
Exactly.
it's a continuing series of events that are happening. I don't see it slacking even for a while. So
No, me either. It's just unfortunate. And
it really is. I agree.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.